Hello everyone, my name is OI on the Thomas Bros channel, and this is my brother.
Doing.
So today we will be finishing our top 5 favourite video games review. Now if you haven't seen the previous videos, we'd suggest go watching them.
Yeah.
And so your game actually is Elden Ring,
Yes,
isn't it?
my game is Elden Ring.
Now,
and your game, if you want to talk about that quickly.
Well, my game would have been Astrobot by this point, but we had previously on the channel done a review of Astrobot, and so because of that, we're not going to do a second review on it. So this will just be reviewing Elden Ring, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to do a quick topic of some Astrobot stuff, you can.
Well, I mean, yeah, I really did like Astrobot for all the gameplay mechanics and the nostalgic references. But again, if you guys want to hear all of our thoughts on it, then go check out the video where we reviewed Astrobot. So, Elden Ring then.
Yes.
So what kind of game is it?
It is like a Dark Souls game, so it's like really, really, really hard. It was my first game in that type of genre.
And games. When did it come out? And how did you
2 years ago,
it?
so in 2022. And how did I discover it? The commercials, really, like the advertisement for the game. Honestly, I remember it got shown at a games like sort of convention. It may have been like E3 or something like that. I'm not too sure, but I remember it being shown. And I thought, I never played a Dark Souls like type game before, and this had like so much hype towards it. And I thought, I should give it a go. I can't say anything about these types of games unless I give it a good fair try on it. So I tried it out, loved the game, completed it all, tore half my hair off my scalp, and it was
okay
really
then. Well, you appear to still
it's grown
have
back.
A full head of hair. So what's the story of Elden Ring then? I know you said before this that it was pretty complicated, so try to explain it to me.
Okay, so the story is so it is complicated because it's a massive open world game. So the story, you choose your characters. So you are the Tarnished, and you are trying to become the Elden Lord, and you have to make it to the Erdtree where you become the Elden Lord. That is like the fundamental what you're trying to do in the game. That is like the end goal. You are trying to become the Elden Lord.
Why do you have to become the Elden Lord?
What do you mean, why do you have to become the Elden Lord?
Well, why do you have to become the Elden Lord?
Because that's part of the game. That's what the game's all about, is becoming the Elden Lord.
Okay, then.
To take over everything. But along the way, you do meet all these characters along the way, like Rani the Witch, Blythe, E.G. and loads of other characters and stuff like that. Melina, she's another one as well. There's loads of different characters. And then, of course, there's the bosses. There's like how many bosses there are in the game. There's a load. And I remember a few certain ones that annoyed me.
Is there like a main villain to it? Because you said that you're like the main character.
Yeah, so you're the main character, but because you're becoming, I guess you could say the main villain is probably, I guess, in a way, the last boss of the game. I mean, there are like story bosses.
Is the villain.
Yeah, I mean, there's story bosses, but there's also like side bosses. But the story bosses, I guess you could say, are like the main villains, which I guess would be Margit, Godfrey, Godric. There's loads of like different types of god something in their names. So the guy Radahn. Melania. Although technically you could have done her as an optional boss, I think. But she was annoying. She was so annoying. Took 6 hours of my life.
And I remember when you beat her, you screamed down the house.
Yes. Oh, I did. I didn't care. I just did not care. The house could come down from the echo of my voice at that time, screaming, "Finally! Finally! She's dead!" No, I'm so glad that was done. I guess Radagon of the Golden Order, he was the last story boss in the game, along with the Elden Beast.
Okay, then. So, and then were there any like actual notable bosses?
Oh yeah, Melania, Radahn, Moog, Margaret, Godfrey, Godric.
Godric, like from Rick and Morty?
No, not that kind of Rick. But no, there's a lot. There's like a load of bosses. Those are the more notable ones. There's loads of different other ones as well. There was Astel as well, of the Astral. That is the boss that you have to beat in order to finish the Rani quest line. There was Renala. Oh my, getting confused now with the DLC. Actually, I'm not too sure, but there was two sisters, I think, and they were very closely named. but one of them definitely I remember her in that game as well.
And you mentioned
Alexander, that was another one.
And you mentioning the DLC just got me onto the thing of, well, what does the DLC is about? What's that about as well?
Well, the DLC is sort of a follow up. To actually get into it, you have to beat two bosses, which is Moog and Radan. The thing about it, to become the Elden Lord, there were like all these seats at the table um, outside of the Erd Tree. It's all like generals and sort of leaders and stuff like that of like the faction stuff. So Melania was one of them. Radan was another. Morgoth and all these other kind of people were. So they like the main story bosses. Rykard, he was another one as well. But there was one that you never did fight in the original game, and that was Mikola, who is the twin of Melania. So because of this, you have to then go to this new location in the Shadow of the Erd Tree after you beat Moog and Radan, and you get teleported there. And it's like this, like a shadow of the Erd Tree. So it's like the normal realm, except it's like a shadow realm of what you've sort of been in already, I guess. But it's a lot different, you know, got all these different enemies and stuff like that to fight. And so the whole end game in that is to fight, you know, all the bosses there and stuff like that. Mesmer, what a pain. You have to get to the end. You fight Mikola and Radan, who has chosen as their consort, the king consort, and Radan being brought back into that DLC was far, far harder than his original. So, 'cause you fight him twice. You fight him in the original game, and you fight him in this one. But in the DLC, he's far harder. But that's the DLC. That's not the original game.
Okay then. And is there, like, do you have a favourite character? Like, any of the ones that aren't, I guess, bosses?
Oh, Blythe, Alexander, Rani, Albigi. I think those four definitely together, they were my favourite non-boss characters.
And why is that?
Well, Blythe, he was cool, liked his design. He was basically like a werewolf, you could say. And in Cymraeg, Blythe stands for, like, you know, the wolf.
Yeah.
So...
there was Welsh in the game.
Yeah, there was Welsh,
Oh.
and they used to have a lot. There was definitely a lot of, you know. In fact, I think his accent was also Welsh as well. To be fair, Blythe, I haven't heard from him in a while. Then again, he's dead, unfortunately, in the game. I mean, haven't heard from him. I mean, I haven't played the game in so long. Not that I actually,
Yeah, I
you
haven't
know,
heard him in a
no,
while.
yeah, I haven't actually, you know. He comes around the house, you know. He just comes around after the knock, you know, gonna have some
tea,
yeah, you know, like. Go to work, go to retail. Yeah, this is Blythe. This guy is far taller. He's he's half wolf, half man. Yeah, he was really cool. That's why I liked him. Rani the Witch was like kind of mysterious. Plus, she wanted to break the cycle. Long story short, she didn't like the way things were running, and she wanted to break the cycle of the I guess the order of things are in that game. And I liked her sort of persona doing that. Like, you know, we're done with this, like, sort of ordeal. Let's do our own thing. In fact, actually, there's several different endings to this game, and she's the one that I chose. It's her ending that I chose, which was really cool. You became her consort. There was Alexander, the warrior jar. He was really cool. I like when you first meet him. You had to knock him out of the ground. And then you had to go to the Radan festival, and you met him there, and Blythe there, and loads of other different people. But no, they were definitely the ones that stood out the most. And EG was cool because he was a cool blacksmith.
Okay, and what kind of abilities and weapons do you have in the game then?
Oh,
like,
wow.
I know you have a sword and a shield, but that's pretty much all I know.
Yeah, okay, it depends, I guess. Well, first of all, there's a lot of different classes you can pick at the beginning of the game, and so by that you have different stats. You have more strength, more magic, more agility, you know, like you like a ninja type assassin, you're a warrior, hardened veteran warrior, or you're a mysterious wizard, you know. So a lot depends on your first choice. But then as you play through the game, you decide on what kind of weapons you want, what kind of play style you want. So, I mean, even in the DLC, there was like these Wolverine claws as you can have as weapons and stuff like that. You can have staffs for casting spells, swords, shields, spears. Like the diversity of all the weapons you can earn in the game is actually insane. I couldn't go through them all, pole arms and stuff like that, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I liked using katanas with bleed build. They were pretty cool. So like like the samurai have like Japanese, katanas.
Okay.
So I had dual wielding katanas because there was another guy, I can't remember his name. He had the Nagakiba katana, and I liked that for the blood loss effect.
And have you played any games like this since then?
I did actually, Bloodborne, because I realized after playing this game how much I actually loved this type of game. It was my first ever like Dark Souls game. I decided to take on another game, which was Bloodborne, because I know a lot of people rave on about that. I want to see like that being either remastered or just a Bloodborne 2. Actually, I know a lot of people want to see actually.
Isn't Black Myth Wukong Ghost of Tsushima though, like those kind of games? And Lies of P, which I know you had a bit of a go
Yeah,
at.
but I never finished that. Like literally only had played like an hour of it. I think so many games of like I'm playing at the moment. I haven't got time for all of them. I would say Bloodborne I'm closer to finishing than Lies of P way much. So Lies of P I've only put like an hour or two in. As for Black Myth Wukong, I wouldn't necessarily class that as a Dark Souls game.
What about Ghost of Tsushima then?
No, absolutely not. Ghost of Tsushima is not a Dark
I
Souls.
always had it in my head that they were Dark Souls games.
No.
At least Black Myth Wukong was.
No. Black Myth Wukong, I would say, is probably a cross between Elden Ring and God of War. It's not as hard as Elden Ring, but it's not as easy as God of War. And I'm not saying God of War is easy. I'm just saying it just kind of feels like it's in between those two. Plus, it's a bit more of a linear, like linear open world. But we're not talking about that anyway, so...
Yeah. Okay, are there any notable areas that you visit in the game?
Caelid Wastes. You've also got the Halig Tree, which is where you fight Malenia. Lindell, the capital of the Erd Tree. Like that's where like all the stuff happens. There's a lot of different places. Like you've got Limgrave, that's like the sort of starting area. There's a lot of different places in the game, but those are like the main areas that you go to. You've even got the round table where it's like a little hub area where you go to level up your character and stuff, even though you can do that at Graces and everything.
Okay, and what would you say this game is like best known for then, I guess?
Best known for?
Yes, and like what kind of aspects in the game kind of stand out? Like God of War, let's say, is best known for its storytelling. What would this game be best known for?
Well, definitely the music. I love the music in it. Because like you get that initial theme as you start the menu. That's always been great. The visuals are fantastic. Like you can just see so far out ahead, and you can see all these mountains and the landscapes, the rivers, the lakes, all that. It's absolutely incredible what they've done. So the visuals good. The combat, because this is my first time playing a Dark Souls game, I wasn't too like sure how the combat works in this game. But all in all, I actually was quite pleasantly surprised how much I loved it. As I said before, the diversity of weapons that you can use in the game to change up your play style and how you fight and tackle bosses in the game is really cool, because you're not really limited by anything. It doesn't matter what class you play, you can pick up any weapon as long as you put the right stats into it to wield it. So I'd say the combat, I think they just did good on everything. At the end of the day, it won Game of the Year in 2022. It beat God of War Ragnarok, and I loved God of War Ragnarok because that was, 2018 was in my top 5, but Ragnarok was a good successor, so it wouldn't have, won it unless, it did well in pretty much every category.
And this is more for your sake than anything. Are there any favourite quotes that you have from the game?
My God, so many bosses. I always remember the trailer one where it was Margit the Fell Omen, where he's like, foul tarnished, in search of the Elden Ring, thy kind all of a piece, emboldened by the flame of ambition. Like that's like one of the things he's...
That's like, exactly why I gave you that question.
Well, because you knew that.
So that you would
it's
say that,
It's definitely the most memorable ones, like, because there's a lot of what they say in the game, but half the time I'm just like struggling to survive, and I'm just like, shut up! Just let me kill you!
Okay then. And one more question. Since, obviously, as of recording this, it'll be the Game Awards, right?
Yes,
tonight?
actually, at the time of this recording, the Game Awards, is happening in 7 hours or ish, or 7 hours.
So, do you think that seeing as the Elden Ring DLC is up to be nominated, it should win?
I am on the side of the fence that believes that it should have probably had its own category for Best Expansion DLC. I am not saying that the game is bad. I love the game. I completed the game. I have full intention maybe one day to go back and play the game again. However, it's still like an expansion DLC, whatever you want to call it. And I feel like, yeah, it's a big enough game. Like, it's big enough to be classed as like a separate game. But it's not, and it could have, and that the placement could have been given to something else, like I don't know, Space Marine 2 or something like that. That was another great game this year. I just feel like you've got all these categories for all these, awards and stuff like that, but they didn't have one for like best expansion / DLC of the year, because there's a lot of expansions DLCs that come out, and Elden Ring would easily win that. It's just. I think they should have had a separate category for it. The thing is, you'd have to get in and play this DLC, you'd have to play the original game and be 2 bosses of the original game. It's not like you can pick this up and you go straight into it. You'd have to play the original game in order to play the DLC as a requirement.
Okay, then. And I guess the last thing that is left for me to ask is, what would you rate it out of 10?
Oh, 10. It was fantastic, flawless, and
Would play again?
Yeah, in fact, I have. I've played it now twice, and I will probably be playing it again one day when I calm down a bit. But it has opened up that type of like genre of gaming, which is Dark Soul type games. As you mentioned now, Lies of P. I've literally only just started it. I will do it when I get more time. But until then, I gotta focus on other stuff at the more. Bloodborne, I'm nearly finished. I think I'm only like 1 or 2 bosses away from finishing it. But that's a solid game. I can see why people want to have a Bloodborne 2 come out, because I think that game's like over 10 years old now, or something like that. But it's really, really good. So no, I would say it's definitely up there. It's 10. It's obviously a 10 for me. And yeah, if they ever make an Elden Ring 2, I would easily pick it up.
Okay then. So, with that being said, I've been Owen on the channel, and this is my brother.
There we.
And we will catch you all in the next video. Ta-da!
Bye-bye.